Hi everybody, welcome back to the Women in Global E-commerce event. This is the very last session of the day. Thank you so much for sticking with us so far. It's been an absolutely amazing day, and I hope you agree that it's been very inspirational, very informative, and yeah, just an all-round very awesome day. So I know that, we sometimes get a little bit Zoom fatigued, looking at our screens and listening and everything. So I really do appreciate you sticking with us throughout the day. So the next session is actually a panel discussion. So it's going to be with me, myself, and also I've got two lovely ladies with me. I've got Alice Garrett and Laura Thomas. So let me just introduce you to them, and we're also just waiting for Fleur to come on as well. So Alice is the founder of Alice Caroline. Alice Caroline sells Liberty fabric, sewing kits and patterns to a global audience. Alice saw a gap in the market to create a business that provided decent customer service where competitors didn't, and also inspired a growing audience whilst also taking breaks in the business to raise children as well, which I thought was fantastic. Now I've also got Laura with me as well. So Laura Thomas is marketing director at Doddl. She joined the founder of the company Cat after meeting in a school playground. Doddl is an innovative product for young children to help them learn how to use cutlery to make eating easier with ergonomic designs. With Laura's corporate background in creative agencies and investment banking, she brings 18 years experience as a brand marketing specialist. So she will have lots of amazing insights to give us today. Have we got Fleur with us yet, folks? No. Okay, that's not a problem. Right, if Fleur joins us, I'm just going to read her bio as well. So Fleur is the founder and CEO of Fleur of England. This is an exclusive British lingerie label with 20 years experience in the retail sector and award-winning global brand. Fleur first designed her first piece of lingerie at the age of 9 and went into a fashion degree later on in her education. So let's start it off, shall we? Alice, I believe that you're going to be going first. So my very first question to you, just so that the audience gets to know you a little bit, tell us about the inspiration behind your brand and why you started out in business.
So I did, after my degree at university, I did a PhD, and at my PhD I started selling handbags at student fairs that I made myself just to make some extra income. So the first sort of phase of my business was actually in making handbags and jewelry, and then I had children and did take a 5-year break, and after that I came back, and I'd always loved Liberty fabric, and I was always a bit annoyed that you couldn't get it very easily, and other than going to London. So I decided to I eventually got an account with Liberty and started selling Liberty fabric. I'd always loved it. It'd always been really super exciting to find Liberty in my stash at sewing. And so I started out, I got an account with Liberty and really grew it from there. So I started when my children were really young, and just grew organically from there. And connecting with the sewing community and seeing what people make with it now all over the world. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's great. And you actually started out thinking that you wanted to actually make products, didn't you? But it was actually the fabrics that ended up being, something that your audience was looking for.
Yeah. It was really hard to get hold of, and sometimes it still is. So what we love now is designing exclusive fabrics in our own colorways to provide something new to the market that our customers get really excited about. We also now have gone back we have a ready-made range, which is all made in Britain, and I've always wanted to be really conscious of making everything ethically, and so we make in the UK and we sell that to B2C, to shops, B2B, to shops around the UK and the world. Yeah.
Excellent, that's wonderful. So Laura, you're the marketing director at Doddl. So tell us about your journey, about how you joined Cat, and because obviously Cat was the one that came up with this idea for ergonomic cutlery. So tell us about that.
Well, Cat had this idea based because she'd really struggled with meal times with her children. She had three very young children, and had found that kind of meal times were the most incredibly stressful time, and she decided to invent something that would help solve that problem based on an experience that she'd had. And she spent years going through the process of actually working with some of the DIT team as well, in terms of kind of designing and getting funding and looking for all the different ways that she could try and create products that would help young children eat properly. And I'd worked in creative agencies and in marketing for years, and we were having a conversation in the school playground about how she was going to market this product that she'd managed to get into John Lewis, which was the first place that she'd managed to get the product into. And immediately I could see, I was suddenly kind of light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, you know, I've never really questioned why my children struggled with cutlery. I just kind of thought it was a rite of passage. And then when I looked at the designs, I could immediately see how fantastic it was. And so we kind of took that together and grew it organically. We were very lucky that reputationally Doddl gets a fantastic reviews from parents. Parents share with other parents, and the reputation started to grow. And I then quit my job doing what I was doing in banking and joined full-time with Doddl about 3 years ago. And we've grown it from there together. And now we've got a team working with us, and it's going really well. We're still getting fantastic feedback. It really does make a difference, and that really drives both of us to keep growing the business.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, like you mentioned to me that, you know, when Kat did get everything into John Lewis, it wasn't always plain sailing, because, you know, when you stick a product on a shelf, that doesn't necessarily equate to sales, even though it's in a multiple, it's a big national multiple. So talk to me about the challenges around you know, that kind of like that kind of brand like sort of perception and the problems you had with that, literally sticking something on a shelf.
Yeah, I think we kind of got it slightly the wrong way around. I think some of it was just pure opportunity. I mean, if a big store like John Lewis comes knocking, you're not going to turn it down. But equally, what we've learned is that actually building the reputation and getting the desire for your products is the most important thing. Because if you've got people banging on the door of retailers asking for them to stock your product or walking in and purchasing it, that's what you need to do. You don't get a huge amount of time to make it work. You know, with someone like John Lewis, you have, and other retailers, you have a certain amount of time to hit a certain amount of sales. And if you don't hit those sales, then it's very quick that you can be removed from the shelf, no matter how great the feedback is on your product. So that was a huge learning for us. We used to get very, very excited about the concept of kind of getting into a store and physically seeing it. But we actually decided to take a step back, and actually we've decided to kind of grow ourselves online. So we do a lot of e-commerce now, and that's really started to build our reputation. And we are starting to have some very grown-up conversations with retailers now, where we feel confident that we could really fulfill those orders and the retailers would really see the benefit of it. I think without that initial investment in marketing and the time it takes to build your brand and build your reputation, your products will just sit on the side. It doesn't matter how good they are. If people don't know about them, you're not going to sell them. And that's you know, that can be a real issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Alice, have you had any sort of like sort of challenges when you were first starting up, or anything that you had to sort of overcome in this sort of retail / e-commerce world at all?
Yeah, I mean, similar experiences to Laura. You have sort of get into a really big retailer or get some really amazing press, and you think, yay, I'm made. This is great. It's going to be easy. And then you're like, oh, okay, I have to do that again and again and again, and you have to just keep building your brand. And even, you know, when you think like getting into John Lewis, we sell in Liberty, London, and you think, well, that's going to be okay, easy sailing from there. We're in the best store. And actually, you have to keep building your brand to create that demand and not be disappointed or knocked back when, you know, it doesn't all work out really amazingly the first time. So you just have to keep growing. And it's just building a business, I guess, is just a constant set of challenges and problems to be solving. It's just a problem solving after problem after problem after decision after, you just keep going and building them. And you think, where I am now, if you told me all the steps I'd have to go through to get here, I'd think, oh crikey, I think I might just not do that. But you grow as your business grows, and you learn as you go along, and you know what you need to know at every stage of the way, and you ask as much questions as you can from, you know, everyone you meet. Search out the answers too. You can't know all in the beginning, so you just have to trust that you will learn it as you go along. And at each step you grow, like you get to the point where you think, okay, this job is too big for this person to handle. Can I afford to take the next person on? How am I going to make that decision? What's my worst case scenario? My finance manager is amazing. She gives me the doomsday scenario of all the things that are going to go wrong. And I go, great, thank you for that. That's brilliant. And then I jump off the cliff anyway. But you have to know. So you got to have and analyze your metrics and what you need to know, and sometimes take brave decisions.
Yeah, excellent. So talk to me about your e-commerce journey. So like, how did you start off? I mean, did you sell on your website? Did you sell on a marketplace? How did you actually start selling to people e-commerce?
So once I started with Liberty, it was kind of I decided to go in the direction of Liberty. At that time, Etsy was born in a new thing, and I thought that sounds great. It's craft supplies to the people so I signed up on Etsy and I started selling through Etsy, and that's how I grew it to really a certain level. And was sort of eBay on the side, but not really focusing, mostly on Etsy. And then my sister, she was working with me and she taught herself how to make a website on Dreamweaver. So we did one there and then grew onto WordPress. And now we mostly sell through our own e-commerce platform.
Okay, amazing. And what about you, Laura? So how was Doddl's sort of like e-commerce sort of like grown? Like, how did you start off? Like, did you ever sell e-commerce to start with on your own website?
Yeah, so it initially started with a website, but we didn't get a huge amount of orders through the website. It was kind of very slow. And actually the turning point for us was the dreaded Amazon, to be honest. We started selling on there and we worked with an Amazon specialist and they helped us optimize the listings. And we started to really get sales driving through there. And then we were able to kind of reinvest what we were making to try and kind of access some of the other marketing activity that we could do to help drive sales to the website, things like social activity, just basic stuff, nothing particularly involved or expensive. And then we grew out the kind of Amazon platform. We started on Amazon UK, we then went to Amazon Europe, we then went to Amazon US, and those really, really helped us. And then incrementally, we've improved our website. As Alice said, we kind of started on a very, very basic. When I look back now at it, it's quite hilarious when we look at what we had. And in fact, we just literally yesterday, we launched our Shopify store. So we were on WiGEC21 for the last couple of years. We just moved to Shopify because we're scaling the business. So we need that extra flexibility. So for us, both Amazon and the website are a real focus for us. Some of the other marketplaces we will certainly look at to grow out. And we work with distributors and retailers around the world who help us find other platforms to sell on in different locations. But from a kind of direct sales point of view, those definitely are the two key ones for us.
Yeah, excellent. So like when I'm working with a client, I always make sure that there's kind of what we call like an omni-channel strategy, just so that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. So if you're a retailer out there and you are only selling on Amazon, what happens if Amazon shuts you down one day? So just go over with me, Laura, again. What are the routes to market that you currently have? Marketplaces, your own website, etc. Social selling.
Yeah, so we sell through Instagram, we sell from Doddl.com, we sell Amazon UK, Europe, and we're just getting stock out to the US market. So those are kind of our direct sales, and that's what we own. So if any marketing we do, we invest directly, those are the places that we'll send people to. But then we also have a distribution partners that are in different locations around the world. So for example, Taiwan and Japan are two key markets for us that we're growing. We found two really fantastic distribution partners to work with us, and they help to build our brand out there and find retailers, and they're finding marketplaces for us in those specific locations. And then we also have smaller sort of retails, both e-commerce and stores that we work with, who to be honest, we try and make sure that they are outside of the Amazon universe so that it doesn't affect our activity on Amazon, but also for exactly the reason that you just said, if we have any issues, anything happens with Amazon, it just means that we've kind of spread the risk. From our point of view, in terms of kind of export and UK, we're sort of about 50-50 now. So there's a real mix in our marketplaces and in our kind of revenue drivers. It's split across the kind of direct sales, retail and distribution.
Excellent. Okay. And what about you, Alice? What kind of routes to market do you have for direct to consumer?
Direct to consumer, is mostly through our website. So we are similar. 50% of our income is from export and 50% UK. And our main markets are in the US, Australia, Japan, Korea, and France. And it is mostly through our website. And so through SEO and Instagram, we sell on Instagram, Instagram shopping, Facebook shopping. We use Amazon for our ready-made products, but not for our cut fabric. And because I guess there's quite a lot of processing we do in-house, we don't use distributors for the fabric. We do it all in-house because we want it done in a certain way. And we ship directly from here all over the world.
Excellent, excellent. So you've mentioned, both of you, sort of like Instagram selling and social selling a couple of times. So Alice, when did social selling really start becoming, like an actual thing to you? When did it sort of click that, you need to be on social media and that, you could, actually sell through Instagram as well? What was your journey on that side of things?
It feels like Instagram's always been a thing, but it really hasn't. Selling on Instagram's only been a fairly recent thing. So in terms of dates, we started, I think I had a personal Instagram account in 2013, but we started in earnest in 2016 and grew it from there. And whenever they started doing the selling, we started directly on there. And we've grown it from there, but it's just such a key to our whole reach, as Instagram really is. We can tell when we put a new product out there that it really sells, through Instagram. If not directly from Instagram, shopping from the direct link, people will go to our website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. And what about you, Laura, at Doddl? Like, when did social selling become like an actual real thing that you needed to do and work on?
Well, I think social media was such a huge part of what the business was based upon, literally from the day that Kat kind of had the prototypes and was sharing them, because, as I said, once parents were able to buy them, they were kind of sharing them, and then they were driving the kind of the desire to buy the product within the sort of social environment. So that, as Alice said, as soon as Instagram offered the ability for us to be able to sell through it, that's what we did. And I think we really, I suppose it's since probably about sometime in 2018, we really started to really push our Instagram and really try and grow that community. And actually, we've only probably in the past year or so really started to optimize a lot of what you can do with Instagram and what you can do with Facebook. Obviously, there's limitations. It can be expensive, it can not be expensive, you have to get the right messages, you have to, it's that golden bullet to try and find the right thing that's going to really drive those sales. But it is a fundamental part of our activity, there's no doubt about that. And we absolutely see it as part of it over the next 12 to 18 months as we grow the business quite significantly. Social selling is a huge part of making sure that we're able to achieve that growth.
Yeah, excellent. I think really with your brand, it's all about sort of educating mums that perhaps children would benefit from having some cutlery that's been specifically designed for them, rather than the adult cutlery that they have to deal with. So I can imagine that you could be pretty good with your education pieces, your sort of teaching people the various things on social media. So yeah, that sounds absolutely excellent. So what, in terms of like social media, like, does influencer marketing play a massive part in your brand? Because I can imagine that, mum bloggers or, sort of influencers that, have children would, really love to share, what you do. And how has that had an effect on your brand?
We've had influencers as part of the marketing mix, again, for as long as we've done social, to be honest, because even when we started, we were having approaches from mum influencers, as small as kind of, 1,500 followers, who we would just send a set to, and they would help share the message. And then it kind of built from there. So we've kind of got three streams to what we do at the moment. We have the kind of Doddl influencer program where people approach us because they've seen our product and we can send them a set to try. And we always say to them, we want you to be honest. This is we're not paying them to do this for us. We're giving them access to the product and asking them to share their experience. And, we are really lucky. Well, I say we're lucky. It's a great product. So, people do genuinely do love it. And I think you do get that feeling. I mean, obviously they still have to say it's gifted and that, it's all done properly, but there is a bit of an authenticity to it. We also use an influencer platform where we can set campaigns, where again it's only a set, but it gives us access kind of more targeted, so we can say we want it to be in the US, we want it to be in Singapore, we want it to be in you know, wherever, and that allows us to get people perhaps that we wouldn't have reached otherwise, or didn't know about us. And then we've also done the slightly bigger campaigns where we've paid for access to an influencer, and we've, you know, they've blogged about us, etc. And the three things, there's no doubt, they really do make a difference. And I think the final one for us is we had this last year. We've been lucky actually that we've sent sets to celebrities to kind of just, you know, give it to them as a gift. And actually we've also had celebrities share that where they bought it themselves. So we had, last year we had Joe Wicks in the middle of his being Mr. PE for the UK. He used it about us. We've had Gemma Atkinson do it recently. Deliciously Ella has done it as well. And that was purely from us kind of just saying, would you, you know, we'd love to send you a set. We sent it to them. They also bought sets because we knew, because we'd sent them different colours. So we kind of were either making them aware and they were buying it, or they were, you know, just buying the sets because they were either gifted them from friends or whatever. So influencing in that way has been, it just adds real credibility, I think, and awareness.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, you know, it does really help that you guys are seemingly one of a kind. So yeah, it just really, really works, doesn't it? So thank you so much for that. Alice, what about you? Have you used like influencer marketing with your brand at all?
Yeah, I mean, ever since we've been on Instagram, and that's the beauty of the social media, is that you really can create and attract your community. So you attract people who are interested in your product. You're not going to get people who aren't interested in following you. And so it naturally builds as a community, and you start to build up, you know, friendships with people. And people, so we have a mixture, like similar to Laura, people approach us and say, would you send some fabric and I'll make this? And now we have a more formal deal where we'll send people, and we'll approach people of a certain size and send them fabric rather than paying, you know, and then we both get something out of it and make an arrangement. And they do a post for followers, and we do giveaways and things like that with influencers. And it's a mixture of people who approach us, and then we decide whether their profile fits what we're after, and we approach other people as well who are interested in our fabrics.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think influencer marketing is really, really important actually for brands, and it's also really important to make sure you get it right as well. You know, I have heard some, you know, sort of like horror stories of like, you know, sending like a product that's maybe worth, you know, sort of £150 or something, and then the brand doesn't actually get tagged in, or, you know, anything like that. So I think influencer marketing is easy enough if you get it right, but you just need to make sure that you get your you sort of get the process all set in place, and the actual influencer knows exactly what they're doing and what's asked of them.
Yeah.
And I think engagement is hugely important as well. I think sometimes you can be fooled by how many someone's got, and you think, oh, that'd be amazing to get it in front of, you know, 100,000 people, but actually they get, you know, for us, we found definitely that the kind of more sort of 1,000 to 5,000 type lower level influencers who have a really engaged audience, who really listen to what they're saying, who really look at the products and really take the recommendations, that's what you need. I think when you're getting to a point where there's, you know, tens of thousands of followers, unless there's, you know, a particular reason why that person has those followers, like a well-known celebrity or a sports or something similar, I think you do need to just be a little bit careful, because you can fall into a bit of a trap of, you know, dreaming that you're going to get masses of sales because of the visibility, but actually if you can't actually get that engagement, you're just showing it to an empty screen at the end of the day.
Yeah, completely agree. So obviously we were supposed to have Fleur with us today, of Fleur of England, and she's actually apparently just managed to dial in. Unfortunately, we've had some really big tech issues today. Fleur, are you there at all?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi there. I am so sorry about your tech issues today.
I apologise to everyone, because I was really looking forward to it, and I've just like missed most of it, so apologies.
Oh dear, that's not a problem. Well, I mean, how about I just ask you a couple of questions now? I mean, we've just been talking about things like social selling and how important social media is, and actual, you know, that actual transaction that takes place, and also influencer marketing as well. So when was the first time that you kind of realized that social media, you know, was going to be really, really important for your brand?
We started working on Instagram when it like the year that it launched. So I think it's about 10 years old now. And just really quickly see how important social was going to be in the future. So we started working in social media, and Facebook before that. But really, in terms of pushing the sales, I'd say in the last 3 years. But as a brand, and a business owner, I'm always interested in growth, and obviously I just think social sales are they're where a lot of growth is going to come from in the future, and that was happening obviously pre-COVID, and COVID's just pushed that even further forward. So yeah, I would just say that we really started focusing on it properly 3 years ago, and our strategies have become stronger and more important to the business and its growth, especially on the e-com side of things. But we're also using social media a lot now to drive wholesale as well. Did you hear that okay?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. And also, obviously you are the owner and sort of founder of this amazing lingerie company. I have actually explained to everybody in the panel discussion or the panel session, like who you are and your brand and everything. When it comes to influencer marketing with a sort of lingerie company, like how does that work? Have you used influencer marketing at all?
Yeah, we do, and especially at the moment, where we're sort of focusing the influencer marketing is we've increased our size range, and we really want to get that awareness out there. And I think that's really where social comes into play, and influencers, because it's all about body positivity. And we were working on that. We've been working on that for the last couple of years, and I just think you can just access, the market. It's so much bigger using social in that way. So that's kind of how we're using social at the moment, is to target people who don't actually know that we're making their sizes.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, the body positivity is so important. And I think a lot of women these days are really sort of dialing into this, because you don't have to look like someone from Hollywood, so therefore why shouldn't a lingerie company make sizes for everybody so that it's all inclusive?
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. So actually the next question that I was going to ask all three of you is more to do with the exporting side of things. I know that we kind of like come into it a little bit during this discussion, but basically I just wanted to see, where do you export today? Is it both B2B and B2C? And I know Alice and Laura have both said that it's about 50-50 split of UK and the rest of the world revenue. But let's go to Laura. Laura, so explain exactly which markets you're into and what the B2B split is and all that sort of stuff.
So from Doddl.com, we deliver to the most countries in the world basically, but in terms of our kind of real growth markets, we have got Taiwan and Japan, Australia, New Zealand are really key for us. We've got distribution partners in each of those locations, and they're helping to really grow those markets. We're also looking at the moment, actually, we're doing research in China to look at that as a possible export market for us. We actually went to the Best of British event in 2019 as part of the DIT trip out there, so that was amazing as well. So that's a potential new market for us, and we've got some key markets in Europe as well that we've got distribution partners and retailers in. So that's kind of where our kind of real focus is. And then the US is something that we're doing this year. We've actually been kind of dipping our toe into the US market over the past couple of years, but we decided actually that we wanted to do it directly. So we're going to kind of take our UK model that we've worked to, which I think I talked through earlier in terms of the website and Amazon, and growing our reputation and building that kind of desire and the awareness before we then go and be approached by retailers and get it in store. So we'll be doing that as of May time.
Wow, amazing. That's such a wonderful export journey. And what about you, Alice? Like what have you got going on in terms of like exports and everything?
Yeah, so our major markets, as I was saying earlier, are America, Australia, and Japan. And for us, it's really about understanding what each different market has a different kind of look and they buy a different type of product in each. So we know and understand which colorways our Japanese customers would like, which is quite similar to our Korean customers. And we really, when we design exclusive colorways like the ones behind me, we really design with those markets in mind, and for us, it's what helps in our export is that it's a British brand and it's globally recognized, Liberty of London. So, with that sort of stamp of authenticity, I guess people know that it's really high quality and it's a British product. So that really helps. And it's also very popular in Australia. And again, they prefer a different type of look in Australia. So and reaching those markets is through our website and through our Instagram, and building up connections in each country with different influencers in each country then kind of influences what is bought in that market.
Yeah, amazing. And I really love that idea that you are essentially tailoring your products to each market. I mentioned it earlier on during the day, but it's quite important to make sure that you're sort of really diving into the psyche of your target audience over there, regardless of whether it's just across the channel to France or whether it's all the way across the other side of the world to Australia. So it is really important to take a look at even things like colors, like you said that the fabrics, some people like different like sort of slightly different colors in Australia to Japan to the UK. So that's really awesome. So what about you, Fleur? Have you had any sort of like things like that where certain colors like sell more in different countries, and also what's your sort of like what's your export journey, and what do you sell at the moment overseas?
Yeah. So we started exporting in our second year of business, and we're 20 years old this year, so quite a long time ago. Wow. Just because our product's quite niche, so really for it to survive, we had to go international right from the start. So we at the moment, I'd say we probably export 60% of the business is export, and 40% UK, and that's B2B and B2C. So in terms of B2B, we've always exported a lot to America, and the product does very well. And I think that's a sizing thing as well with lingerie. The sizing translates very easily to the American sizing system, so it's easy for them to understand it. They love that it's called Fleur of England, so there's a real, heritage that comes with that, which they really, really like in the American market. But in terms of colour, absolutely. We find that, for example, the Middle Eastern market, they like the jewel tones, really rich colours. They don't like such sort of pastel shades, don't really work for them. And then I'd say that the Russian market is quite different as well. And it's something that I do consider when I'm designing my collections, the colour palettes. And it's just hard, though, to, have colours that fit everybody unless you do a completely different range, which by the sounds of it, quite a few businesses are doing that, which is a great idea.
Yeah, amazing. And Fleur, while I've got you, what is what's kind of like the one thing that you would say to a British retailer at the moment who maybe isn't exporting yet? What do you think is there like a big tip or anything like that you want to give them, especially in this current climate?
I would just say jump in because it's the best thing that you can do, really. But do your research, obviously. And I guess the one thing that having a business and it's growing at the moment, particularly now, is really get your logistics right, commodity codes, country of origin, because it's the real foundations, and there's lots of experts out there who can help you with that. But if somebody was thinking, right, I definitely want to export, I would definitely get some advice on that area. And I think we've touched that already today in some of the other workshops that I listened to. But yeah, I would definitely say get your logistics right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what about you, Alice?
Yeah, just going back to the color, very interesting. We find similar with the Middle Eastern market, very, very like really the bright jewel colors. And the Japanese market prefer much more muted, but exactly. About you need to know your customs codes now. I mean, it used to be easier when we started out. We always sold internationally, and we just sort of put it in the post. Now you really have to you've got to do your customs codes, particularly with Brexit and the EU. You know, everyone's much more on alert about your custom, and then the post office are much more, you know, sorted about all those things. And you have to do all the paperwork for the couriers, and everything has to be correct in terms of, you know, all of your codes and things. And if you don't know, you need to know who to go and ask. And I want to make Alexandra, who was on earlier, my new best friend, because she knows everything there is to know about all of these things. So
awesome.
That's what I found the DTI to be so helpful, is in asking those sorts of questions when you just don't really know what the answers are, to ask the experts, because you can't get it wrong.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. While I've got you, actually, Alice, I've had a question that's come in from the audience. I've had a couple actually, and I'm trying to get to them. But the first one is actually for you because of your export to Australia. Could you tell me what colours or tastes Australian people tend to have? So what kind of colours are we looking at for the Australian market?
I would say brighter, but not as strong bright as the Middle East. So the brighter end of the spectrum, quite contrasting. Not so much the pale stuff, bolder colours.
Okay.
Australian florals, I guess, a lot of reds and things like that too. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. So Laura, on to you. What is the one tip that you would say to a British retailer that is thinking about exporting?
I think Fleur covered it off actually. My three that I had was make sure you do your market research, even if it's only understanding kind of, certainly for us, there's a big difference culturally in terms of meal times in the UK versus meal times even in like Italy or Spain versus meal times in Japan and China. Obviously, that's so important. So even understanding the sort of basis of how your customer will use your product in those different markets is really important. How you're going to fulfill that and logistics, again, really, really important. We've had some real challenges where we've had real opportunities where, you know, it's certainly been difficult to try and make the most of them because of issues around fulfillment and assuming we can do things where, as Alice says, you know, you think you can do this, but actually there's things you have to do and you have to do it the right way. And so you've had to kind of rethink certain parts of it. And I think the only other thing I would say is probably just make sure that you recognise that you do need to have some marketing investment in those markets. You know, again, that's the kind of John Lewis thing. You can't expect just to deliver your product to a country and expect people just to buy it. They need to know it's there. They need to know what it does and why it's different and why they should buy your product over anybody else's in the market. And finally, I suppose, is anything like IP protection, trademarking, things like that. When you're opening yourself up to export markets, there are some not so nice companies out there that will try and take your reputation and your products, and you need to be ready for that. So you need to make sure that you've got, you know, in your mind at least what you can do. Obviously, with things like IP, you can't do that retrospectively, but trademarking and things like that in certain markets, if they're going to be really key markets for you, it's worth looking into.
Excellent. Okay, and just while we're on the subject of sort of markets, etc. Laura, do you do all of your marketing in-house, or do you have an agency? And is that the same for the UK and the rest of the world?
We did all of our marketing in-house until about 7 months ago. So it's been a long journey of us doing it ourselves, but we now do work with an agency who is based in the UK. So a lot of what we do is kind of UK first and then tailored for different markets. And we've got distribution partners. They have sort of marketing experts that help tailor what we do in the UK to make it kind of culturally and language appropriate for the different markets that we work in. We're also, if we do decide that China is a good option for us, we will work with a Chinese agency to make sure that that's appropriate as well, because there's certain markets where it's really important that you're working with people who really understand those markets. But it's been refreshing having an agency with us rather than doing it all ourselves, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Well, I tell you something, ladies, I'd love to stay on and talk to you for another hour or so, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So this is basically like the end of the day, end of the wonderful Women in Global E-commerce event. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me on this panel discussion. It was so inspirational, and I'm sure that our delegates got a lot out of, you know, just listening to you talk about it. And you're also completely inspirational as well. So, and I really love Fleur's idea of, you know, just go for it, just go for export. And of course, just remember that the DIT is absolutely here to help you and support you along your export journey as well. Is there anything else that I need to wrap up, events team, at all?
No, I think that's everything from our side as well.
Oh, good. Wonderful. So thank you so much for everybody who joined us today. It's been an absolutely fantastic event. Thank you for my panelists as well for answering the questions. And we'll be in touch with all the slides, all the recordings, and any questions that you had throughout the day as well. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.